Yeah. Not a big one.
I would like to call our regular meeting of the Board of Education of September 13th to order, please. May I have roll call?
Mr. Kuderik?
Present.
Ms. Lanassi is excused. Ms. White?
Present.
Mr. Minkevich?
Present.
Ms. Frears present. Ms. Buckley?
Present.
And Mr. Esco is also excused.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Carr, are there any changes in our agenda?
There are no changes in the agenda, Madam President.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of our previous meeting minutes. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Support.
Any question on the minutes?
Are we doing both meetings, or
We do both together.
we both together? Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent Carr?
Thank you. I have for you some personnel actions in Mr. Clark's absence today. We have a recommendation for the hiring of a kindergarten teacher, a computer art teacher and art teacher at St. Stephen's, and a teacher for St. Anthony's for computer art and phys ed. For the edification of our audience, the St. Stephen's and the St. Anthony employees are doing particular specific subjects, and we will get equivalencies for providing the service to these parochial schools. We'll get approximately 40 full-time equivalencies, which will put us in a very favorable financial position relative to those jobs at this point. This is replacing a program that used to operate under the same basis at St. Aloysius School. Since St. Aloysius is closed, kids have gone other places, and these folks have asked to work with us. We've received the cooperation and support from the public school districts in both of those cases, and are recommending we go ahead with these hires.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the three employees named in the recommendation.
Support.
Any questions?
I had a question on the first one. Is there a possibility that that is ever going to possibly become a full-time position? It says just AM, is that?
Well, yes, there are possibilities. She particularly wanted to work half-time as
Okay.
part of what the arrangement was. So it was a mutually agreed upon and positive situation on both sides.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And we have for your information, relative to a child care leave, maternity and child care leave for the Secretary at Merriman. I had a third one, didn't I give you the third one?
Yeah. We have
Yeah, third one there, to
No,
the
you passed
employment
one
of
out
a,
just now.
there's for a special ed teacher. I need a motion on that one as well.
Okay, hold on.
Where at?
It's an addendum,
I
you just
I
passed
just
it out.
passed it out to you.
Everybody have it?
Yeah.
This person is taking the place of a person who's just moved in counseling, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation to hire the special education teacher at the high school.
Support.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You said that this is a new hire, so they weren't already in the district. They're coming
Correct.
into the district.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Just want to be
You know,
clear.
we've done kind of a hiring freeze, but when school starts, or you're in a situation when you have teaching assignments, you can't eliminate a teaching assignment. You must fill that position. We moved a person from that job into a counseling role. They left a vacant spot, and this is the person filling that slot.
Is this the counseling role at the high school?
Yes, the person who left that position has been transferred to the counseling spot at the high school.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this a younger teacher?
I don't know the
No.
answer.
Just because I knew someone with a similar name who was a special ed teacher, but was
I
fairly
can't-
old and,
I can't answer that for you. I don't know the person.
okay.
Do you guys know?
Rhonda, you know? It's relative.
Older or younger?
Oh, okay, well then that's not.
What's your
All I needed to
definition of
know.
younger, Rhonda?
Anybody younger than me, Rhonda?
Yeah,
is
probably
young.
a son or daughter.
Anybody younger than me is young, Rhonda.
Oh,
Put you
one
right
I
on the
knew.
spot, Rhonda. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Through here, bills for payment.
Superintendent Carr, President Buckley, members of the Board of Education, we have for your review and approval 7 registers of warrants to be authorized totaling $444,962.03.
May I have a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that we accept the bills for payment.
Support?
Any question on the bills? All in favor?
Aye.
Just a lot.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Mr. Woodson is here with us for just a couple of moments tonight. I'll give him just a couple of minutes to have the floor. They're in the kind of a hurry to leave, though, because we've got a very great honor for Celeste and her family, that Philip has been chosen as the Scholar Athlete of the Week by Channel 7, and that's where everybody is at. And Mr. Cook is going to run down there at least and be a part of that, so we're really very proud of that, and that's why Celeste is not with us tonight. Mr. Woodson?
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to come out tonight and.
Mr. Wilson, excuse me, can you get the mic? Is there a mic over there for you?
Yeah, right over here.
So the
And
audience at home can hear you, what you have to say. Thank you. You want to stand right there, too? You stand right there? Well, down there and then
Down by the table.
Well, you can turn this way, but see where that tape, the little square is down there, kind of in face.
Okay, again, I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to come out tonight, as well as my varsity fall coaches. I'm going to introduce them right now. Starting here is Wade Cook. He's the varsity head football coach here at the high school, and also he works over at elementary, Corey Elementary. We have Joe Hawkins. He's a men's soccer coach, and also is a teacher at the middle school. We had Ken Beasley. He's our boys cross country coach. Here we have Rhonda Henry. She's a girls basketball coach and works in the high school. And then last, I believe we have Adrienne Hill. She's a cheerleading coach and also is a teacher at the high school. We have several coaches who right now have, they're in competition. That is Paul Nehemiah. He is our boys golf coach. We have Kathleen Forrest. She is our girls tennis coach. And one more. Okay, and yeah, that's it. That's all our coaches this fall, and mainly they just want to come over and get a chance to meet y'all. I wanted to introduce them, and more so welcome you out to any of their sporting events. Some of you might not have calendars and schedules and so forth. If you need those, we have them over at the athletic department in my office. You can get one from me or from my secretary, Paula Smith, but we would love to have y'all to come on out and support the coaches, the team, and the young men and young women, because it's a really great need for y'all just to be out there and just show your appreciation. We would love to have you out there. Because one thing, whenever I get a chance to talk to any parents and audience, I always talk about what our coaches do, the time they put in and the effort and practices, and just summer conditioning, weightlifting, and so many hours they put into it. And one thing I always tell them, and people joke about it, but if a coach is really paid for the many hours that they put in volunteering, they will be pretty wealthy, rich. And I mean, it's a lot of hours they put in, and I just want to appreciate them taking their time, busy schedule, to come out here tonight. And just like to tell them to keep up the good work, and you know, we're all pulling for you. Okay? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And you are excused. You do not There's no compulsion for anybody to stay, so
Good job, guys.
don't feel bad by getting
Rhonda?
up and leaving. We won't be offended. Mr. Dolan?
Thank you. We have with us tonight Ms. Jariga and a host of facilitators that she will have introduce themselves. Just for the board's understanding, we've been working on North Central accreditation goals and identifying these goals and researching the goals for the last 2 years. We are in the process this fall of implementing them, and we will have a visitation in the fall, I think at the end of October. Debbie's going to walk you through where we are and how we got where we are, talk to you about what direction we're going into, and, you know, obviously, the whole focus of schools and why we're here and what we do is for students and increase achievement. I have a list of I guess, parameters that we're working towards and working under for this academic school year, the foundation, if you will, and you can look those over, and perhaps at another time we can have a more expanded discussion on those. But tonight I want Debbie to walk the board through the 3 goals and what our plans are for the next few years. Ms. Jariga.
And I'm not as young as, is it off?
Yes.
I'm not as young as Stella.
It's on. It's on.
I'm not as young as Mark, so I'm going to let my facilitators introduce themselves. And I think we'll start up here.
Why don't you, Deb, why don't you explain what a facilitator is so that the
Our
board...
school improvement facilitators really are the leaders in the school, and they are the staff members who oversee the school improvements process in each school. They are the instructional leaders in every building.
The microphone is
It's
not on.
not on.
That's why Ed is here.
How's that?
There you go.
And we'll start here.
Stacy Alguire, 4th grade teacher at Wick Elementary.
Shavonna Johnson, co-facilitator, 4th grade at Wick Elementary.
I'm Linda Poirier. I'm the facilitator at the high school.
Rob Beatty, 8th grade facilitator at the middle school.
Alicia Del Toro, early childhood special education at Barth Elementary.
Karen Powell, co-facilitator at Community High School.
Cheryl Brackney, learning specialist at Hale Creek.
Kristen Foos, 5th grade teacher at Hale Creek.
Ruth Ann Levi, 5th grade teacher at Merriman.
Gretchen Nataro, learning specialist at Romulus Elementary.
Thank you. As you know, we are mandated by some laws, federal laws and state laws, to show that we are making improvements in student achievement. No Child Left Behind has some very specific mandates for us, and they ask the state to also have some mandates in terms of watching how students progress. And in the state of Michigan, we work under a Michigan report card in Education Yes. And the law that mandates us to do this is called PA 25, and it says all schools have to have a school improvement process in place. That's like the car that drives us to look at school improvement. You have in front of you a couple of documents. We have been in school improvement for a number of years in Romulus. That's not new to us. But we are in our 2nd cycle in Romulus working with North Central Association. And they are a group of people that for over 100 years have helped schools become accredited. And so we have used a process that they have developed to help us in our efforts to show student achievement. We have finished one cycle with North Central, and that was completed a couple of years ago, and we are now in our 2nd cycle. And every year we apply to North Central for accreditation, and very often in the news you will see whether schools are accredited or not, and that's what they really refer to, whether North Central has given them their seal of approval. We have to apply for accreditation every year. Every 5 years, we seek an approval with an endorsement. And with North Central, we're working on a transition endorsement. But in that process, we meet all the requirements that the state asks us to meet in terms of education. Yes, the school report card, and certainly No Child Left Behind. In front of you, I printed off a school improvement plan. That's WIC's school improvement plan. And it's a pretty healthy document. We have been working over the last 2 years to come up with some goals in our school and in the district on which to work over the next few years. In Romulus, we have chosen really 3 goals. Every school has 3 goals. In elementary school, we have chosen reading, writing, and math. Every day in our buildings, you can walk in any of our buildings and you can see that our plates are much fuller than reading, writing, and math. That's not to say that we don't work on science and social studies. It's not to say that we don't deal with behavior issues and all those kinds of things. But our focus over the next 3 years, we have agreed with each of our staffs to wrap our arms around these 3 goals and the kinds of things, the actions, and the strategies that will help us fulfill these goals over the next 3 years. In the middle school and high school, they also work on 3 goals, but their emphasis becomes on higher order thinking skills, and they've also adopted a new behavior program. So those are the kinds of things over the next 3 years we're going to work on. I also provided you with another document, and it's printed in color. And it's this document. It has 3 pages. This is a working document. And this is part of what we're attempting to do in North Central Transitions. North Central requires us, when we seek an endorsement, they would like us to stop and look at every single child along the way to see how our kids are doing against the goals that we have set. To do that, you need a really involved student management system to do that. You need to be able to collect data on every child and to be able to put that on a computer and let a lot of people have access to that. We're rolling out this student management system. It's in the process. It's a work in progress. You can see a couple of the pages say it's not completed yet. But it's a process that we would like to eventually, over time, roll out every year. We'd like to be able to stop and look at every single child along the way to see how they're doing against the standards we've set in Romulus. North Central requires us to do that every 3 years, and we hope that we can do that more often. It certainly is a challenge for us because, as we all know, in the next few years we're facing challenges with staffing and finances and that kind of thing. So we'll have to proceed with that as we can. But that is alongside our goals with reading, writing, and math. That's another goal we have in terms of our school improvement process. So, any questions? Tom, you want to add anything?
Well, just to expand on what Deb, the documents that you have in front of you, particularly the school improvement plan, is the result of endless hours that the principals and entire faculty have worked on. It is a consensus plan, and we anticipate consensus implementation. As a district, and I gave you this handout that sort of reference where we're going. As a district, and we met previous to this meeting with all the facilitators, we have what we feel the prerequisites in place to be extremely successful. We have a process in North Central. I think we have exceptional teachers. We have exceptional principals. I think we have a very firm focus. We have a board that's aware where we're going and why we're going where we're going. We have support services in place. I think we have all the ingredients to move this district in the way we want to go. I think we have philosophical consistency. But as Debbie said, and as Joe and I have talked to you in the past, we're going to have some problems down the road in relationship to the finances of this district, and it's not unique to this district. It's it's a national problem. We've been blessed in that we, through various grants, had a lot of support programs that we're going to be, quite frankly, losing. Our community is used to a lot of extended opportunities for their kids. tutoring for their kids, the Boys and Girls Clubs, and all these ingredients, this gestalt, if you will, this milieu that we promoted, has really produced a quality product for this community. Right now, and maybe Joe wants to comment on it, we feel very good about this year. We feel very good about where we're going and why we're going. We feel very good and very confident that the board has a good idea where we're going. But, you know, to be frank, there are going to be some challenges because we have some challenges within our community. We have some kids that don't want to work as hard as we want them to work, as the standards indicate. We have some kids that require a lot more support than the typical kid, and we won't be able to provide that support as we used to. So we're going to have to get better at what we do. But I think the board should be pleased with what we have in place, the process that Debbie has really helped facilitate at the elementary level. I think as a district, we're coming together. I think we have an extremely collaborative staff. I think philosophically, we all recognize that working together is to everyone's benefit, particularly the kids' benefit. So I think we've earned and deserved the reputation we're getting as a forward-thinking district in relationship to achievement, but there are challenges.
The challenges are particularly pronounced in this financial area that Tom refers to. I met today with 3 other superintendents and a lobbyist who works for all of us, and the level of frustration is increasing. The districts who've been in very strong positions in the past are now being closed in upon by the lack of any increase in funding. We are presently in our 3rd year of funding at the same dollar rate. But if you were to notice the papers recently and the public statements that occur on television, many of the folks in Lansing are referring to the increases that we're getting. They're saying we got a $74 increase from last year. Well, the fact of the matter is last year we were scheduled to receive the number of dollars, and $74 were taken away from us. And the money we received last year was the same as the money the year before. So there are some language games being played with what's really going on with the financial picture for schools in the entire. We are blessed in that we're able to work very well with our staff and come to agreements and work things through, and we're feeling very good about that. But the frustration level is going to mount as we end this year. We'll use up the last of our savings account, and next year will be a real financial challenge. We're trying to not affect the children as much as we can, but everything we do here affects children. We've had some positions disappear, and as things disappear, you kind of don't notice them as quickly as if you come in and hack them out. But we've had positions disappear, and as we look ahead to next year, it's going to be a real challenge, and we appreciate the spirit and attitude that everybody has. But when you start looking at some of the numbers in terms of class sizes, those are going to grow. It's going to change. And it's through no fault of this Board of Education or the staff that we have here. It's because there just isn't the money to do it, and we are forced to have a balanced budget over time. And we're not going to be balanced this year. We weren't balanced last year, but we were using the savings account. Once the savings account is gone, we're going to be put in a world of hurt and be in a position where we're going to have to do some more drastic things. We haven't bought vehicles for a couple of years. Sooner or later, we're going to have to buy more vehicles. That costs a lot of money. We'll be as creative as we can. We'll try to be as resourceful as we can. But we've got to understand under these economic conditions that things are very difficult. We appreciate very much the hard work of our administrators, and teaching staff, and support staff, because you've all come up there and stepped up to the plate, and we do appreciate it. We don't maybe show it always the way you'd like to see it shown, but we're really trying to show that we do appreciate it, and we do recognize how well you really do. Our community is growing. That's the one ace in the hole we have. We're growing very slightly, and our student numbers here, if you look at them today, are about 20 or 30 more than we had last year. That's not much, but we've got a lot more new housing coming in, and every child brings additional money to the district. And if we can add children without having to add too much more staff, because when you look at some of the class sizes, there are room to put kids in some classes. it doesn't cost us any more money if there's one more child in the room. But it gets to be real dicey, and we need to balance that and make it work as well as we possibly can.
I guess I just wanted to reflect it to the board, and, you know, Jill and I have, Bill and Ed, we all have numerous conversations how we're gonna balance, but, you know, our focus, the people in the audience focus is the academic achievement. That's what we're all here, and I think I wanted to let the board know that we are positioned well, that our foundation is solid, that we feel we have the people in position, strong teaching staff and strong administrative staff to implement this. And we know that there are a lot of challenges out there, and we're willing to work with the board, and the board has been exceptionally collaborative in working with us. So as a community, I think we're ahead of the ballgame. And I appreciate all the principals that are here again tonight: Shelley, Sharon, Diane, and Phyllis. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for doing what you do.
Is there questions?
No, I just had a comment. I don't know if anyone saw the News Herald from this past Wednesday. In the front section, there's an article, and I can't remember by who now because I just read it last night, dealing with education and the No Child Left Behind and all of this. And I start reading the article, and the first thing I come up with in my mind is, well, here's another person that's going to slam education. But he ends the article with, if everybody could achieve 100%, and he compared this to the auto industry, he was saying we would never have an automobile breakdown, we'd never have a recall, and he stresses the point that people should realize, you know, the president's goal, we need to work toward it, but it's not a possible goal. And it was a good article.
So that's where we're going. And Ed Hardy's here too, I forget. I keep forgetting.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bill, hot water tank replacement. This is a hot one.
Mine is out.
Thank you all again.
Thanks for coming. Good job, Debba.
Screwed up my hot water tank,
Boom, hit the flood.
and it's out. It is out.
Try to make this interesting.
That's all right.
Try to make this one interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of hot water.
Tell them mine is out right now as we speak.
Ooh, that's a new one too. That shouldn't be
Had a
happening.
flood last week.
Whoa.
Oh, that's
This is for the information of the board. We did have a hot water tank go out at the high school. It's a 1,400-gallon tank, so it's quite large. Because of the shortness of window in which we had to respond, we did obtain 2 bids from AMS Mechanical and Guardian Plumbing. Guardian was the lower of the 2, and so we proceeded with the low bidder to replace this. And this tank was replaced just the day before school started. So we really had to hustle to get this in place so that we wouldn't have any glitches on the first day of school.
So that's basically why we didn't get it earlier. I mean, it happened right just
Yes.
before school.
Yes. In fact, within 3 days, I believe we installed it, so we were really scrambling. The next item that I have for the Board of Education is the adoption of a resolution to enter into an agreement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And as the board will recall, you know, we are a self-insured Blue Cross, Blue Shield arrangement. What is being presented is that agreement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And the resolution also asks that the Director of Business and Operations be authorized to execute this agreement on behalf of the Board of Education.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to move that the Board of Education adopt and ratify the business associate addendum with Blue Cross Blue Shield on behalf of its plan sponsor, Romulus School District Health Plan, and further approves and ratifies the execution of same by the Director of Business and Operations.
Supported.
Are there any questions? Any questions?
Well, we were going to have Mr. Ruthier do a complete explanation of this, but he chickened out.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And following the same line of logic, we also have an agreement that's quite similar to the Blue Cross plan Tony, this has to do with Gallagher Benefit Services. And Gallagher Benefit is the third-party administrator that helps us to seek bids, if you will, for the purchase of Blue Cross. They help us structure the plan and resolve, in some instances, issues that some of our employees may have on an ongoing basis, as well as securing bids for the purchase of long-term disability, life insurance, dental insurance, optical, and et cetera. And this is also following the HIPAA laws in that a board resolution is required approving this arrangement with Gallagher Benefit Services, as well as allowing the Director of Business and Operations to execute on behalf of the Board of Education.
Okay. Motion, please.
I would like to make a motion that we accept Gallagher Benefit Services as a, in the business associate agreement.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
The next item is something we've discussed at an earlier date when it first came out. We need to act on this somewhere between the 1st of September and the end of December, and that is the setting of election dates for future school board elections. We have several choices. We could do it on the fourth Tuesday in February, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in May, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in August, or the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. If you don't do any of those things, elections would be held in the odd year in the general election in November. If a district doesn't want to do this, the school board may adopt a resolution to do one of the things ahead. You can do the odd year in May on the regular election date, or you can do the odd and even year in May on the regular election date, or the November election in both odd and even years. You recall we had a discussion of this earlier sessions, and my recommendation, and I think most of you concurred with the idea that we would operate by having our meetings every year in May. It would be the first Tuesday after the first Monday in May of each year. It would entail us hooking up more closely with the county, with the city clerk. I've had conversations with her on at least 2 occasions, and they're certainly willing to work with us on it. The law requires us, though, to maybe chat about it a little tonight. If we've got some other ideas on it, we certainly could discuss them. It would then require us to have a public hearing, which I'd recommend we'll have the public hearing at our next meeting on the 27th of this month. We'll have a scheduled special session for at 6:15, just prior to our meeting, and then we'll agenda this item and deal with it right shortly after the discussion opportunity to put this in place. And then we do the regular paperwork to notify everyone that that's what's going on. I've talked to other superintendents, and virtually everyone I've talked to is doing as we suggest, to go with the first Tuesday after the first Monday in May. It keeps continuity with the kinds of things we're doing. It would just give a little longer, a month longer lame duck period for someone who's leaving office. It would give a person who's coming into office an extra month to have been elected but not serving on the board. But that can be a good thing because they can have a little more time to get their feet wet before they actually jump in the pool. So if we have any discussion on it, we can discuss that tonight, or we'll, with your permission, we'll go ahead and specially schedule that session, our next meeting, and we'll act at that time.
Anybody have any comments?
Just, I agree with what Joel was talking about, because all the other options throw us into odd situations where we don't get our normal rotation of people on the board. And
Well, they also throw us into politics.
yeah,
And I think that's part of the goal for some of these folks, is they have this become more politicized. Speaking with most of you, I think we didn't want to make this into a political football.
Especially right now.
The only thing different, we're just doing it in May instead of June.
That'd be really the only change. The other thing that could happen is we could also change the precinct structure that we're operating under. I talked with the city clerk, and we were thinking out loud only, but we're thinking that we would not change the place that anyone votes. If there's just one precinct at a particular place, we would certainly keep that precinct. But we do have places where there's 2 or 3 precincts in the same building. We could combine those together into one precinct at that building. It would cause no confusion for the voters, because they'd be going to the same place they've always gone. They would just vote at the same table, as opposed to having 3 different tables sitting next to each other.
We have to have less workers.
Less
as
workers,
well.
we'd save some dollars there, yes.
All those work
Okay.
groups.
We'll go ahead and schedule that.
Yeah, they're
They've
gonna
been
be
around forever.
Okay.
Okay. And the next item, I've got preliminary count figures that I just passed out to you before the meeting, because they're today's counts. With the numbers we have here, plus 40 full-time equivalencies that don't show on any of these sheets. If we get 40 full-time equivalencies from those 2 parochial schools, will be approximately 4,250 students. And I think last year we were 4,220 at this time, 4,219, something like that. So we're really very, very close. And these numbers change day by day. The first day of school, there were about 250 fewer people in school than there are now. So things change dramatically over a relatively short period of time. And we continue to develop that, and our official count date will be Wednesday, September 22. That's a big day, and we're staying right on top of this, make sure it's done correctly, so that we do get the money that we're entitled to. That's all that counts for money nowadays, is how many kids we have. That's the only thing that counts, so we're working on that.
Joe, I have a question on the count. I got some calls regarding the class sizes, second grade in particular at Corey. What's our maximum that we can have in a classroom?
35. 33 at a couple different grade levels, 35 at others. We're working to make
Second-
adjustments on those things, but if you in general look at it, you're gonna find that our class sizes are pretty favorable. We do have bumps in a couple of places where things are a little heavy. And the way you solve those bumps with the kind of balances we have here, you move kids to a different classroom within their same school, or you might move kids from the second grade from one school to another school. We have one situation on here that I thought was supposed to happen today, and that was over at Hill Creek School. We had one class in 5th grade of 37 kids. Well, I think 4 or 5 of those children, in fact, I know 4 or 5 of those children were being shifted to the to the 5th grade at Merriman School. So those kinds of shifts are uncomfortable for parents, though, because their child is going to a different school. But for us to, you'll notice we've got some class sizes that are very, very favorable. And, again, we're not finished receiving kids. Merriman School has a big push going on right now at the Sky Harbor apartment complex to have more people move in, and every person who moves in at Sky Harbor will impact what goes on at Merriman School. Not that we set things up for that in particular, but you'll notice that the class balance there is really very favorable, and there's room for quite a few more kids without adding any costs.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, Joe, I've got calls as well about the first grade at Merriman Elementary. And when you look at the numbers, they are high. In the event that when we do our count on September 22nd, if the numbers go over the allocated amount, over what we currently have, can we revisit that or look at that, the possibility?
Well, we are looking at this all the time. I receive these sheets every day. So, and Ed and the principals and so forth, the principals turn these things in every day. So we're looking at it on a regular basis. And yes, we can make adjustments, and if we
I'm just thinking of
need
first
to.
grade where they're learning to read.
Well, I absolutely.
Right,
You know, and
same with
second
second
grade
grade
as
too.
well.
That,
Yeah,
that poor
first-
teacher could spend all day just
That's
letting
34
people
kids.
use
so
But
that's
you gotta
why
keep in mind the other piece of it. We're beginning this year with a fund balance that's gonna be spent plus more at the end of this year. And I'm not trying to punish anybody, but every teacher is a very expensive employee, and as long as we're within our contractual limits, we're trying to do things, we're doing things for the best interest of kids. But we've got to be very careful what we do too, because if you bring someone on, then you've got potential liability for them for a very long time, or unemployment expenses if things change next year. It's a very difficult picture. The other question is about getting into split classes. And our principals fight very strongly. They'll do all kinds of things to not have grade level split. Now, I have a grandson right now who's in a class that is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. He just left his kindergarten through 2nd grade school, went to another school, and he's in a class that's 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It was designed that way. It was purposely done that way. They're trying whatever kind of process to teach those kids differently. I just talked to my daughter-in-law today, and she said he just loves school more. I mean, he's an okay student, but now he really loves school because they've done something different there, and they're multi-aging it. So I don't know if it's good or bad yet in that particular case, but there are things we can do, and I'm not suggesting we go to multi-aging. We're in a different state and a different situation than that, but there are other things we can do as well. But when you talk about solving problems of oversize, a lot of it is taking a child from one school and putting them in another school where we have space. And that's really uncomfortable for parents as well. So those options are out there, and we're approaching them all.
The positive part is, I can just speak for the Romulus Elementary, kind of how the boundaries are set, that the communities are growing. So that more kids are going to come and the classes are going to get even bigger. And
Well, we certainly hope so, and we'll need to do what we need to do to make that work, absolutely. But the difficult fact is that this year over last year, in the entire district, we're only up about 30 kids. That's not much in the total overall picture. And yes, it happens in a couple places. We've got other elementary schools that are as low as 261 kids.
seeing that.
Right.
299, 330, 387,
We're looking
one
at
at 422, one at 351. You know, our elementary issue is in pretty good shape when you look across the whole district. There are problem spots, and we need to deal with those. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Joel, if you get these every day, can we get these in our packet every now and then? Because I've been stopped a couple times over Corey myself, and with that Avalon sub going up over there, I just think that we may be in trouble at Corey.
Corey's only got 261 kids.
Well, total, but I mean, some of the class sizes are getting rather large, just specifically that second grade class. That's the one I believe that I was stopped.
Well, and that's where you get into
Last year.
situations where we can maybe do some other kinds of things.
Couldn't we hire an aide, somebody who is,
Well, I'm not
I
sure,
hate to say it,
Ed
but-
is not here today, but I think he is working on that problem. I don't know if they've made a move to take maybe a couple of second graders over to WIC. That's what we do sometimes if that's.
because second grade actually